Hey everyone, DFR here, welcome back to the channel, and yes, we are taking a look at the last video of the 6-part series about American hybrid battleships, and we're finishing this one with the Kearsarge. So the Kearsarge, it's the premium American hybrid who's been in the game for a couple of years now, 2 or 3 years, I'm actually not that sure anymore. And I actually have it on one of my accounts, and I decided to kind of close the series with him as kind of a recap of the principles that we've talked about it. But there are a lot of similarities between this one and the other American hybrid battleships, and also a few differences that we're going to highlight now. Let's take a look at it. And here we have it next to the other American battleships at the tier and a couple of others. And the first thing we noticed, this one gets precise aiming just like the Minnesota and the Missouri, so that's actually quite nice. You can reuse those commanders on this one. And if you compare it with the Delaware, it gets dive bombers, but it does not get fighters. So we'll get back to that. The first thing you notice with the Kearsarge, it has two things that are very, very tricky to manage. Number one, it's a huge ship, almost 300 meters, one of the largest at the tier, and keep in mind you have to add the flight deck to that, so it's pretty big target, and it doesn't have any kind of protection. So despite having a significant amount of hit points, the survivability is one of the worst, if not the worst, at tier 9, so you really have to watch out where you're going with this one. In terms of maneuverability, it's not great. Top speed is pretty average at the tier, and the traverse and turn time are the worst at the tier. Actually, only the Musashi is doing worst, so yeah, this thing kind of moves like a brick, but where it kind of compensates for that, it's in the damage department. Look at that, 12 406mm guns. That's exactly the same as the Minnesota. The accuracy is also kind of comparable, 56%, that's not bad actually, but where they definitely shine, it's in the damage department. They do deal a lot more damage than the guns of the Minnesota. Individual gun damage, 1260 versus 1046. So in terms of DPM, this is one of the best at tier 8. So that's a major difference with the Delaware, who kind of has to rely on its dive bombers to complement the damage. This one, as a battleship, it can function pretty well on its own. So you also get 14 American secondaries, so also the damage there, it's actually pretty good. No auto secondaries, of course, and in the dive bomber department, another difference with the Delaware. So you're getting 22 of them, only one squadron of 5 bombers, so the reload time it's practically the same, but yeah, you do have a lot more of these dive bombers, so you can be a little bit more aggressive in the way you're actually using them. You're actually going to keep them probably until the end of the battle. So that's also good news there. And finally, in the AA department, you're an American battleship, but yeah, in terms of small caliber A, it's not great actually, it's pretty poor, but you still have the American large caliber AA, but still, it's probably the weakest of all the American battleships in terms of AA. And so yeah, back to the game. The first thing we do is actually get to the center of the map behind another battleship, and yes, it's a bot there, but we are absolutely not going to be aggressive with that thing. You do not want to be aggressive. Still, if you remember what you have seen with the previous guide, so let's take the first one where you have to watch your surroundings, staying not too far from that rooster, because that's kind of the only fire setter in our team, because our CV, it's a German CV, so yeah, it's not going to fire and float too many things, I'm afraid. And yeah, I am absolutely not aggressive with the Kearsarge, because yes, it does have a monster DPM, but yeah, I mean, look at those 12 guns in action, but yeah, if you make one positioning mistake, you're pretty much done for, because yeah, it's just such a huge target, and you see it right in front of you there. It has that huge superstructure in the middle of the ship. It's such a huge target, and you see what that Schliffen was able to do to me. I mean, it's a Schliffen, it pretty much sucks at range, but yeah, you know what? I also have pretty good guns, and I'm going to counterattack, and you see that it was actually set on firebomb. There you go. and it was set on fire by the Worcester and it just damaged gone, and that is when I decide to send my dive bombers, and hopefully we can get some more fires on this guy. So yeah, the same playbook pretty much applies as with the other American hybrids. You cannot be aggressive at the beginning of the battle, you cannot take aggressive positions, and you have to keep watching your surroundings all the time. Yeah, look at that, we just took 2 salvos and and we've lost 20,000 hit points and we've already used a premium repair kit. So yeah, you do have a monster DPM with that thing, but the question is, will you be able to use it? And that's why you really have to be super careful. Yeah, and I'm just watching, taking shots of opportunity. The enemy CV has focused me a little bit more, so I'm probably going to get a little bit closer to that Iowa, and maybe that will act as a deterrent. But yeah, because I do not really have any target at the moment. The Schlieffen is doing, yeah, I'm not sure what it's doing, but it's behind the island, and yeah, it looks like it's going to pop out again, so we might actually have a target. But yeah, for the moment I'm not being aggressive. Yeah, there you go, amazing. Yup, precise aim activated, because yeah, that's really what that ship needs, much more than rapid reload, to get those 12 guns on target, and bam, there you go, only 6 hits, but we did smack him for quite a lot of damage. And yeah, it's a real pleasure with that thing. It really plays like a traditional battleship from that perspective, but just do not get into a fight with anything, because yeah, there you go, the Schlieffen is set on fire, and he is flooded by our CV. No, he's not, but he's still set on fire, and unfortunately I did set my dive bombers a little bit too early there. It's okay, I'm going to reuse them. The Jinan is on fire, he might actually not have a damage control kit, and so yeah, it's exactly the same rule as with the other American hybrids. When you are not shooting, you are watching everything around you, and you're looking for those ships that might not have, yeah, there you go, double fire on that Jinan. That's absolutely beautiful. Yeah, and so you're always watching, trying to pick targets for your dive bombers while you are kind of engaging at super long range with the rest of the enemy fleet. Again, no initiative with that thing until it's absolutely safe, and it's actually safe for me right now to be pushing. So yeah, I'm pretty good in terms of hit points. I'm not too worried because there are no battleships on the enemy team. That Jinan is going down, smokescreen is not going to keep him safe, and so it's just the enemy CV, the Sommers, and myself, so I'm really not too worried. Yeah. And so while we are getting ready for a conversation with the enemy CV, let us bring the ratings. So Kearsarge, is it a fun ship? Yeah, it is fun, but I did give him one less star than for the Delaware and the Louisiana, simply because you do not have those fighters. So you're kind of a better battleship in a way, and a worst hybrid, if you see what I mean. So it's still a fun ship, just a little bit more traditional than the others. Is it beginner friendly? Yeah, actually, if you remember to not do anything stupid, you can get away with it, but yeah, as soon as you make one positioning mistake, then yeah, it's pretty much game over for you, so you kind of have to watch out, but I mean, you know, it's just not going to be as forgiving, but yeah, you kind of have to watch out with it. Free-to-play friendly, it's actually not that bad, because the accuracy of the ship is actually, yeah, it's actually pretty decent. You see me there doing something interesting. Let me pause it for a bit. You see me actually, I'm hesitating whether calling back or sending my bombers back to keep the enemy CV spotted, but I do see that my CV has actually sent a wave of planes, so I'm not too worried, this thing is going to get lit. But yeah, that's something interesting. There's nothing that says that you cannot use your dive bombers to scout just like you would with fighters. It's just going to hurt your DPM, that's all. But yeah, free to play friendly, yeah, so it's actually pretty average there, because yeah, you still need the premium repair kits, but I'm playing it with I would say a general American commander, not one that is tailored for precise aim, and you see that yeah, you can still get the salvos out with I would say the standard precise aiming skill. So yeah, overall it's pretty decent, so I've given it 4 stars out of 5. A bit like the Delaware. Is it better than the Delaware? Well, it's different. It's different. It has much better guns. It's a much more traditional battleship there. It's also a lot more forgiving with the planes. We've seen that. I'm still having planes at the end of the battle. That almost never happens with the Delaware. So yeah, it's a nice addition to the game. I think it's an often overlooked ship, certainly one worth adding to your arsenal if you're kind of phased out by the complexity of playing the hybrids and just want something that is a little bit easier to play. And so there you go, that concludes my 6 video series on American hybrids. Hope you've enjoyed it, learned a couple of interesting things. Stay safe, take care. That was DFA signing out. Bye bye.